Hey, how's it going, day, buddy?
Pretty good, man. How's it going?
Not too bad. So let's get this started here. So, what got you into wrestling? Were you a fan of wrestling all your life, or did something you found out like later on in life that you want to do?
So honestly, with my love, I can't say it's a love hate because it's a love with like a little bit of hate. But honestly, so it started, I will say, around the time I was a very young kid. Like I'll say like around like 2 or 3 years old. So long story short, end of it is that one of the first things I remember seeing was like AWA. And one of the matches I remember seeing was Kurt Hennig and Nick Botwinkle for the AWA title at that point in time. So I remember after that, because like the AWA always came on like on ESPN like very late at night. So my granddad, what he did at the time, he always recorded it, and like he always had people over to come watch it. So I know that um once I saw that clip, like I got very I was very excited about it. So I was just like, oh, this is definitely something I want to do. So as a young like 2, 3 year old kid, I just went up to the TV and pointed and said, I'm gonna do that as a kid. And then how it really kind of like got into me. So when because you know every parents and grandparents they see that they think it's like the most adorable thing. It's like when a kid say like, "Hey, I want to be an astronaut," or "Hey, I want to end world peace." So I found out at the time. My great auntie actually wrestled in the territories around like the early '60s. So her name was Dina Beeman. So she did that, and then when she heard about it, she actually went up to me and she was just like excited about it. And she's like, "Hey, if you like actually do this, like you're gonna have to like commit yourself to it. Like you can't change your mind. Like once you're in because I did it, and then like from hearing her stories about everything, and then like that's just one thing that just never changed. So as I got to be like a teenager, like having like like a couple of like friends in school that actually liked it, that didn't see you as a loser when you liked wrestling as a kid, but now watching wrestling now is pretty cool. It's definitely one of those things that I was just like, as a teenager, I was like, nope, I'm actually going to do this, and that's where honestly the dream started.
That's awesome. Yeah, kind of the same way when you have a group of friends that like wrestling, it's so much better to talk about wrestling when you have a group of friends that want to talk about it.
Oh yeah.
Where you get really excited about everything. Now, next thing I saw that really got me fascinated about you, you were trained by Nick Densmore. If no one knows who Nick Densmore is, that's Eugene from WWE, which I believe is a Hall of Fame guy right there, just for that character alone. Because no one else in pro wrestling I can ever say could pull that character off other than him.
Oh yeah. So to kind of like pull the curtain back a little bit. So um around the time I actually found out there was wrestling in Sioux Falls. So I was going to so originally I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So like there's some things there, but I went to school to South Dakota, so SESU. Go Rapids. But so around the time like one of my good friends that I went to school with, he was just like, "Hey, just so you know, like there's wrestling like in the area." And I'm just like, what are you talking about? Like there's first off, I'm in a college town, so I'm just oblivious to everything. So he was like, no, like there's actually like so it's in Sioux Falls, so it's like 45 minutes away. But he was just like, no, like there's like you should come like next time I go to the show, just come check it out with me. And I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, dude, I love wrestling. Like I would love to come. So I ended up going to a Midwest All Pro show at the time, and that's how I met one of my other friends, Charlie, there because he was like good friends of his, and like long and behold, when I walk through the door, I see Nick Dinsmore, and I'm just like, aren't I'm like I'm sitting looking like, hey, is Eugene like is he a part of the show? He was like, well, uh, he runs it, and I'm just like, man, what's he doing in South Dakota? Like, there's no way. Like, you ribbing me. And he was like, no, dude, this is the actual thing. Like, he lives here, and I'm just like, oh. okay. So later during that show, um, they were like during intermission, they were Dismore was talking about his wrestling school, and he was just like, yeah, so we're doing like this seminar. If you guys want to come, this is a seminar. That's how it works. It's 2 weeks long. Uh, if you're serious about it, just get you see me on side. Blah 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 blah. And both like Charlie and my buddy Augie looked at me just like, so you're doing this, right? And I was just like, I mean, I don't know because so to also peel the curtain back a little bit further, so I wrestled in the backyard like in high school. So like had a smidge training from like one of my best friends from the business, but not like a lot of like training from like Nick Dinsmore training, basically. So it's just like I was just like, oh, I mean, I'll like at the time I was like, I kind of don't have a car situation right now, so I was like, I'll think about it. And like my friend was just like, I will get you, I will find you a ride if you can commit to this. I will find somebody to take you from point A to point B and so on and so forth. And I was just like, okay, all right, let's do it. So going to the seminar, um, basically like we so by this time it's like at least like several years since I've actually like been in a sort of ring. So you're just like, all right, just start doing these drills. So do the rolls, do some of the running of the ropes and stuff like that. So this is like towards the tail end of like this is actually like in the second training classes and whatnot. Because like I noticed it a little bit when I was doing the drills, but Desmore kind of looked at me a little bit different. So he's like, hey, can I talk to you for a little bit? Like come here. So I was just like, uh-oh, I probably screwed up on something very, very bad. So then he was just like, I know when I see somebody that knows what they're doing. This is like you've done this before. And I was just like, yeah, so like I did wrestle like several years ago in the backyard for like a few years. And he was just like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So you're coming back in to do it, right? And I'm just like, hey, it ain't every fucking day you get, excuse my French, it ain't every day that Nick Dinsmore like compliments you and just be like, hey, you can actually, you're like, you know what you're doing. Like you should sign up. You should actually do this now. Which I think that was like the push I needed to be like, all right, let's get back into it. So after that seminar, like this more was just like, hey, so like are you like I know I talked to you about this like a little over like a week and a half ago. So like are you do you want to? And I was like, I was like, give me 3 months because I gotta finish, I gotta graduate college. Give me 3 months. I was just like, I will be at the next semester of classes that you have. And he was just like, huh, good enough for you. Next semester of classes start May 17th. And I graduated May 12th. So I was just like, all right, 5 days, let's go. So graduated college, moved down from Brookings to Sioux Falls, and yeah, the rest was history.
Awesome. I mean, props for you for Fringe College. A lot of people don't want to do that, but you were so close to the end, it's like might as well finish it. So I give you props for doing that. Well, what do you go to college for? You mind me asking?
So believe it or not, I am a communication studies and theater major.
Oh, perfect for wrestling.
Oh, very all right. Like
Exactly.
just a perfect glove.
Do you stay in touch with Nick Dismore still, or as time went on, you guys got like separate your talking?
I stay in touch with him. The last time I talked to him was about I would say about several months ago. It was around the time um because I know because with me running the company, running the New Sound Wrestling down here, I know because he moved back to Florida.
Yeah, I remember hearing
Uh,
about that in an interview he did on Inside the Ropes. He kind of said move back to Florida.
Yeah, he moved back to Florida. So I know like I keep tabs on him, he keeps tabs on me. I know every now and then we chit chat. But yeah. I know I think either he just finished up with his stuff overseas in Europe or he is about to be done. But like I saw that and I was like, all right, Dismore's taking a few months in Europe over there. I was like, that's awesome. And I even told him that too. And I was like, have fun, coach. And he was like, thanks, kid.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy. Like every interview I saw with him, he sounds like a down to earth person, someone that you can have a really good conversation with. But
Oh,
yeah,
and honestly, too, like it's definitely one of those like thinking about it too is like because I know there was times where like when WWE came into town because like when you hear about who Dinsmore basically helped train, so like he helped like train with like Sasha Banks, Charlotte Flair, Bailey. He was there around the time John Cena and Batista started. He helped out with Braun Strowman. Like a good chunk of the people that was in NXT, like when NXT started to like blow up, like he helped crop that. So like when it came to like people like when Neville and Sammy was down there, when KO was down there, like Dinsmore I know had a hand in helping with that. Like I know one of the best forms of thing that I've heard was it's like a few years ago. I know Dismore was hanging out with. It was after a Raw. I know it was a few of the guys that he helped that Dinsmore trained down here in South Dakota. And then it was like people like I know like Victor from the Ascension was there, Braun Strowman. I forget the refs that was there, and Mojo Riley. And I know Braun Strowman. Well, with us being Wisconsin guys, that's how we bonded. So it's just like me and him started conversating after that. He might remember it, but I remember that clear as day. So then after that, he was just like, yeah, man, like, like honestly, he was just like Dinsmore is like one of the best people to have like as a coach because like he he like they call like if you again for the people at home, if y'all watch like if you hear Nick Dinsmore, like you hear Mr. Wrestling Nick Dinsmore, like he put on matches with like a lot of great people and like when he was one of the honestly, people don't realize how much of a great technical wrestler he was. But like he got his nick with being Eugene. Um, but like so many people will just talk about like like I haven't heard anything bad about Dinsmore when it came to training, and it's just like yeah, like y'all have a real great teacher when it came to that. So that made me be like, oh, that's my coach. That's awesome. I like like glad to know that. Like not people saying it just to say it.
exactly. And there's not many people out in wrestling to have that kind of respect as Densmore does. And he
Hmm.
earned that respect with the way he treats people, and that's how he gets treated in return. I would think, because he's such a
Hmm.
nice guy. But
Oh
now,
yeah.
now you guys are making big moves in Sioux Falls with New Sound Wrestling. Now that has been making massive moves. I've been seeing on social media with shows every month. You guys have a new show, and it seems like every month it's a bigger and better show. And you have a new show, a new one coming up here soon. Superplex. I hope I pronounced that right. Yeah,
Supermania.
Supermania. Yeah,
Close enough,
that.
close enough. That's good. Yeah. That was definitely a good show. So with that show, I know that's it's ran by the convention we have down here at SuperCon. So fun which is so when it's something that like I know Dismore helped out with and started with like in the beginning. So and I would say this would be about because I gotta think of years. Because honestly, I would say this would be about my well, I can't COVID year took off. So I'll say about 6, 7 years of wrestling at that con um when it came to it. So I know it's something that definitely was like a ground foundation that he helped out with. And I'm just happy that we're able to do it this year with the great staff at SuperCon and at the venue. So I mean it's a very, very big show that we got going on here. I know we got Brock and Arn Anderson showing up, which is awesome. And I know we got a Danhausen as well too. So it's going to be a real great time. It's going to be a real fun weekend, I will say too. So think it definitely is going to be a real big show.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous because I wanted to meet Danhausen so badly because I love Danhausen. I
No,
like
I do
going.
too. This is so like so many people I know that have already meet Dan Housen. Like, oh yeah, Dan Housen cool. I said, man, this is my first time meeting him. So like, I love Dan Housen. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love him just as much as almost anybody else do. But it's definitely one of those like, yeah, I can't wait to like actually like be in the same like area, same arena with him and all that. So
Oh yeah, that is awesome. Now, also during your soft launch of Newtown Wrestling, you had Paul London make an appearance. What was that like? I mean, was that like a easy process getting like Paul London, or was that a little bit a challenging process? You thought it was getting like someone of a name like his name to come to your show?
honestly, pretty like not too bad when it came to it. I know one of the people that used to work that used to help out with us here at New Sound, he got the contact with us, and I know he definitely wanted to come down. I will say definitely one of the easiest people to work with, and honestly one of the I will say definitely a a delight in the locker room. Like definitely like someone who knows a lot about the business, someone who takes the business seriously. Paul London was actually a really, really nice guy.
Awesome. Now you're not just running your own promotion; you're actually still wrestling on the road, because you still wrestled for Below Zero Wrestling, which where we met in Sturgis, but you
Yep.
also wrestled for Midwest Pro Wrestling, also.
Yep. So I know with them, so with Midwest All Pro, it kind of defunct a little bit once Dinsmore stepped away. So I know, so usually I know, outside of like my home base, which is New Sound and Below Zero, I know every now and then when I help out with other places too. I know I've made a couple appearances at Magnum Pro Wrestling down in Omaha. I've also made a appearance early in my career to Midwest All Star Wrestling (MAWs) out in Minnesota. Um, Definitely like shouts out to both of those places because they're definitely doing great things in their area. And a couple, I know every now and then a couple other places I've been to, but I know those are like usually like the main, I say like outside of the first two, but those like the main other two. I cherish and enjoy with.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of sent like right in the center of the bullseye because wherever you go either way, you got wrestling all around you. So you
Oh
are like
yeah,
in the right spot in the Sioux Falls.
and like the blessing out of that too is that with it being only one wrestling promotion, which is New Sound Wrestling in South Dakota, it's definitely like more of that middle hub experience too. Because it's just like not only like I'm in the middle, it's where I can go to North Dakota or go to because like there's stuff in Iowa too, there's stuff in like Omaha, Minnesota, which is not too far of a drive, like 2 or 4 hours give or take, depending on how you drive. Um, but like I mean, we're also the only wrestling company in South Dakota, which I know from a business standpoint has been good. Because like we have ran across people that wrestlers like they haven't wrestled in South Dakota. That people that are outside of like your WWE or AEW is just like a lot of people don't know where to go when it comes to wrestling here or how where to wrestle at here. So it's a good thing to say the least when it comes to that part of it being the only wrestling promotion here in South Dakota.
Exactly. Now you run New Sound Wrestling with your wife as well, right?
Correct.
Now, how you balance the ownership and in-ring work? I mean, do you ever like still being in the ring, or do you kind of feel you're being pushed more out of the ring and more like the ownership kind of like role?
That's a good question. Honestly, I'll say a little bit of both because like honestly, which if my wife were here, she would tell you this, that like every time we do like watch wrestling and stuff like that, I will always critique something because I've been that person. And this is even before me being a promoter. Because it's just like there's certain times when when things are about to happen, I call it out like right away or I call it like way in advance. And then she's just like, I hate that you know this. And I was just like, I just had this knack. I don't know why. So I think that's why the booking wise, like I feel as though we're being a promoter, I think that it's cool with that. And plus I've always been curious. And not only that, I like the challenges that both sides bring. So like I mean with wrestling, like I mean I always aim to be better and I always want to learn something. Um and I know wrestling in the ring will always help me do that. Because I've learned a lot from a lot of great people. Like, I mean, outside of being trained by Dismore, like I've been in the ring with people like Ricky and Kerry Morton. I've been in the ring with someone that's been great, like Jason Strife, who's the legend, honest, a legend. And like just like a few other people here and there that I just pick their brains on when it comes to that part. And then when it comes to like the promoting side of it, like I'm learning a lot more how like because like I have an idea like how to run something and how to run a company and like the do's and don'ts basically. And but now it's like more challenging um with like learning like production stuff, learning things like when it comes to like because like you call your matches when you're a wrestler, but like when it comes to like booking things now, especially booking things in advance, it's a little bit of a new challenge for me when it comes to that. So like it's I will say overall a learning experience on both sides that honestly I don't feel it push me towards one way or the other. I feel as though it's something that it both brings something that's challenging that honestly, like I love it. So that's definitely something for sure that I can't pick a side if people's like, what you like better? Do you like seeing the production of it, or do you like being in it? So I mean, and honestly, I compare it to like me being a theater major. I compare it to like being an actor on stage or being like a tech worker working on the backstage scenery and side of things because like I love the production of things coming to, and I like seeing things when they're live, but I also love being a part of it too, which honestly that's the best way I can explain it when it comes to that.
Yeah. Next one thing I want to ask you. Do you now the new sound wrestling is kind of taken off? Do you still want to portray, kind of move up in wrestling and possibly move to like WWE wrestling or AEW? Is that still on your goal path, or is like you like new sounds so much that you just want to keep like in your little bubble you're in now, or do you still looking at the future with like WWE, AEW?
I am looking at the future when it comes to like potentially I hope I get there. I always want to like I mean because the goal in this is like eventually you want to make it. Like you want to make it to WWE, you want to make it to AEW, you want to make it to TNA. I know some people like I know one goal like one deep desire bucket list goal of mine is to wrestle in the UK because I love the UK crowd or even wrestle in Japan as well too. So like I say like WWE, AEW is like the bigger goals, and even TNA as well too. But I do feel as though it's definitely it wouldn't it wouldn't hurt if let's just say if I didn't make it, then it's nothing that I'm gonna just be defeated in because I feel as though at the end of the day, what I've done in like the indie season, what I'm doing with new sounds, I can definitely be very, very happy with that. But yeah, trust me, I like my end game is always to try to make it to WWE, AEW, or TNA or any huge like wrestling company.
Awesome. With the wrestling landscape changing now, with streaming services now stepping in, with now you got streaming services like Netflix, Amazon, all these platforms want wrestling. Do you think now with wrestling being all the independent wrestling shows going to streaming service, do you think that the market's going to kind of get overflow with wrestling, or do you think wrestling is still going, indie wrestling is going to balance itself out, or do you think it's going to be like oversaturated?
I I don't think it'll be. It's tricky because I think there will be some oversaturation. Don't get me wrong, because I feel as though it'll go to like the beginning days of like when when indie wrestling when indie wrestling got like online streaming at first. So like you had your high spots had their things every now and then when it came to events. I remember like places like Dragon Gate USA, like they only streamed on like a certain site. You had independent wrestling.tv being like a huge thing. And I was a huge independent wrestling TV advocate. I remember there was a point in time when like Patreon was like first starting, and YouTube was like to find wrestling on YouTube, you had to go to a deep algorithm to find it. I still remember that, and like seeing how it's grown, because I feel as though like the more wrestling, the better. Because and I guess part of that too is just like with it being stagnant so long ago, of seeing like WWE on TV for God knows how long, and that like is a breath of fresh air that AEW's airing on TV. Um, it's a breath of fresh air that, I mean, now we got like things like, I mean, we got TNA has their own thing. Um, Heck, I mean, if we want to put NXT in a level, NXT has its own streaming thing as well too. But you also got like New Japan with New Japan World. You got some stuff that is still doing, like some people are still doing, like I know like some indies are still doing Patreon like viewings and all that. I also know people are sometimes, a lot of people are moving towards like YouTube live streams now too, which I think that's a very undermined market, because especially with the way streaming service is now and how sometimes streaming services can be expensive, as someone, and it's just me speaking from like personally, like I have like a minimum of 10 streaming services I pay for. So it's it's definitely one of those. It can be taxing a little bit. So it's just like sometimes, some people like, I kind of don't want to pay like 15-20 bucks and stuff like that. So it's just like I feel as though people like hitting YouTube, doing like YouTube shows for free. I think that's actually a good gem. Because I know with my YouTube algorithm now, since I'm running a company, I see like there's like a lot of like wrestling promotions that's throughout the US that's actually doing a lot of YouTube live shows. Cause I think it's just more so like people go for like monetization and stuff like that too. But I also feel as though that if you present something, if you have a label on it, I think it can help and it can hurt. So like I will say one thing too with like Triller TV, I think that's great too, because you can like with mostly Triller TV, you can get a lot of like some of like, because like I know you get like some like a lot of wrestling shows you can get for free that you don't have to pay with a paywall. There's some shows that do have paywalls, which is understandable, so I get that. But I feel as though the more wrestling the better, just so like it helps get not only eyes on wrestling as a product, but it gets more eyes on like great wrestlers around. Um, and as well as just like it's just like the only negative again is just that with people nowadays, some people don't like paying for streaming, some people like to do stuff illegally. Hey, do what you do. So yeah, honestly, I feel as though with streaming it's good. It's a double-edged sword. It's a blessing and a curse in that respect. But honestly, I feel as though me personally, I will always say the more wrestling the better, because I was that kid growing up in the 90s that was literally flipping the channel each and every time to WCW, to WWE. When it came to the Monday Night Wars, there was times that I did flip it over every now and then when Thunder was on Thursday, when they started doing Thunder on Thursdays. I know sometimes ECW aired on Thursdays when they did like TNN like the last few days. I usually flipped it over to that, or if they did like a special with that too. So like I always channel flip each and every time. And I am personally, it might be me being weird, or probably I might have a little bit of OCD, who knows? But like I just like seeing like a lot more things to view, to look at, just so it's like I'm not being like super stagnant, because like I love being that friend, especially that was growing up, especially in high school and college, where uh I have friends that are just like when they watch back in WWE, and like they're just like, oh yeah, like like Finn Balor, for example. So like people are just like, oh man, like Finn Balor is great. I like they like and people hear like he like been wrestling for like 25 years, and they just ask me like, so like like Finn Balor, right? I was like, yeah, he went as Prince Devitt in New Japan, or Fargo Devitt and all that. It was like, so you got anything like recommendations and stuff when it comes to that? And I was like, oh brother, let me tell you about this person. And like I can be that person that like kind of like turns like that wheel to be like, hey, like, these guys are great now in WWE, but when they were in the indies, oh man, they were just amazing. And like usually I know when it comes to like match recommendations too, because like a lot of the non-casual fans that I know, will always ask me like, "Hey D, like what match do you recommend?" And I will say like I do have some matches that are WWE and like AEW. Like I will have some of those. But like I have like always like point people to like some of the hidden gems I do like for example, like one of my favorite matches ever is Kazuchika Okada versus Shibata. Was that Genesis in New Japan? I always talk to people about that because like I'm a huge Shibata guy, and I thought Shibata was gonna get the belt, but he did not, and I was so upset. And then that's when he went to the injury thing. But like I'll always give people like these random matches. Like for example, I remember my brother because my twin brother who when he kind of he because he watched wrestling with me but then like he kind of phased out of it like a smidget, but he like kept eyes on it. So then there was one time he liked when he kind of like was moseying on in, he liked Pac or Adrian Neville. So he was just like, "Hey, you got." He was like, "Hey, I know you know this guy, and I know you have some matches that I can watch. What matches can you recommend?" And I was just like, "Oh, I got my one of my favorite matches in the Indies is it's from PWG and it was El Generico and Pac. It's like one of their I think like the first time they wrestled each other. And I was just like, you thought he did flips like now crazy? Like look at him when he was like small, like his buddy went. And then so yeah, so I love being that one guy that is just like that I can like and granted like with being in the industry now, you see people that they can point out that match like, yeah, I like that match too. But like I love being that one person, like let's just say if we're in a crowd of like 50 people and they just like, hey, name a match that you know that's something that is just like that's something that you will recommend to anybody to watch wrestling if it's their first time. And I can just like I can be glad I can be that one guy that I won't go with like the typical matches. So like, you know, people will say, and by typical, I don't mean like something that's just like you'll see every day. Like I mean, like the ones like so like people will recommend like Hogan versus Andre or Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker. Nothing against those matches, but like I like pointing out the random matches that is just like, oh yeah, this match actually kind of rules. So like for example, like if I were to do that, like two matches off the top of my head, I can point out is I will give Kota Ibushi versus Cedric Alexander in the CWC Classic. That is like honestly like the many amount of time I watched that match like at least 100 to 1,000 times over. And then like I know one of the other matches I would usually recommend to people um, is outside the Okada Shibata match. Um, I would always recommend because to me it has a little soft spot in my heart. I will always recommend. I like the third match between CM Punk and Samoa Joe. More importantly, I don't know what in the trilogy for Ring of Honor. Like I don't know why. Like I love the whole three match series and all that. But that third match in particular, I just don't know. Like it tugs at the strings a little bit because like it rules. But yeah, but and I mean, aside track going off that little tangent when it came to that with like streaming and all that. But I feel as though the more streaming with rest or the more wrestling can be seen, the better.
Mm. Yeah, one match I comes to my mind is Owen Hart versus Bret Hart. Because now we're watching that the whole backstory behind that. Need like Bret wanted to face Owen, Owen didn't want to face Bret, and
Yep.
I'm just so glad we got to see that match because that was a great match. I mean, even though
It
they
was a
those
it
are guys
was a
put their life on the line there a little bit.
my biggest regret when or I say regret, my biggest qualm when it came to that match. Like I get why they did the thing with like Mania with like Luger's Yoko and Brett with that. I get that, but I feel as though if you did Brett and Owen for the belt, I think that would have been amazing.
Oh, of course. I mean, Owen definitely didn't was end that line where he deserved that belt. Because after hearing everyone talk about Owen, no one said one bad thing about the guy other than he likes to joke around all the
You
time.
like to joke around and prank, but that's about it. But that's wrestling. Everybody loves to joke around and prank around a little bit.
Exactly. Okay. Wow, this has been amazing. I enjoyed this conversation with you so much. I hope we can do some more here in the future here again. But my timer is kind of a little, very little low here. But No,
It's
I
okay.
mean, no, it was awesome. No, you definitely have a story that a bigger story. I think we need to get out to the fans because you. I love how you talk about wrestling because you can tell you love wrestling because you watch because you not only most people watch the WWE, maybe some indies, but you watch everything. New Japan. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've not watched a whole lot of New Japan wrestling. I want to get in New Japan and European wrestling, but you watch it all. So you're like a genius to me. And also, you got Nick Dinsmore, who knows so much about
So
wrestling.
much.
I mean, you learn a lot from him, I'm guaranteed.
Mhm. The trick to that, and it's what got me into it because one of my buddies, he put me on this path when I first started discovering the indies. He said, you'll start with one person. Doesn't matter, just start with one person, and then once you start that one person, then it's just like, oh, okay. Um, I'll look into this person. You'll see that he wrestled in several places. You'll look at like some of like, okay, like he wrestled against this person, this person. You'll see the show that they're on, and it's just like, oh, okay, because that's when you realize that there's people on a show, or there's like some character that like speaks to you. So like for example, uh, when I got into like the European scene, like I was kind of into it, but not into it like deeply, deeply. But um, I I really liked what was his name? What was his name? Why am I blanking on his name? Oh God, because he was in. I was at Dave Mastiff. That's what it was. So with Dave Mastiff, like I saw like a because I was watching Kevin Steen, and when I had got watching Kevin Steen, like I went down a pipeline, and then I saw Dave Mastiff wrestle him, and I was like, okay, who's the Dave Mastiff guy? Big dude, big like 350-pound dude that can move. So then after I was like, oh, okay, so like he wrestle somebody good, I need to keep an eye on him. Then I was watching like some of the show, like, and then I heard of like a show, and this is when like Twitter started to get popular a little bit more. So then that's when I was like, oh, okay, so he wrestles for this company, this company, and this company. Oh, they're all based out of the UK. Okay, cool. I get something to watch. And then from there, like you start with a person, which will graduate you to start into a show. And then once you start to that show, you recognize that brand, and then that brand's like, oh, they be doing this. Okay, like all right, I got some
That's
homework to
awesome.
do.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I mean, European people, companies do things so different than over here. I mean, they run things a lot
Right?
different.
A
Yeah.
lot different. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you again for coming on here. I would really enjoy this conversation. And hope we can do some more conversation here in the near future. I'm sorry for the short conversation here. I'm on Zoom, the free plan, so I only get like 40-minute timer. But
40 minutes. Oh no, I understand that, man. It's totally fine.
no, I give you all the best of luck with your new sound wrestling, and I would definitely want to stay in touch with you and possibly can do some more with you in the future if you want to.
Oh no, trust me. Yeah, I was like, man, I love conversation like these too. So yeah, I'm always like I'm
Oh,
down for whenever, man.
awesome! I appreciate it. Well, thank you again for coming on. Have a great night, buddy.
Yeah, you too, man.
All right, talk to you later.
Talk to you later.